My name is Nicholas Albaugh. I'm the MIT Library's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Librarian, and I'm just going to be going over with you today MIT Library resources that you can use to do market research. So let me talk a little bit more about myself for a second here. Hold on one second. So as I said, I'm MIT Library's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Librarian. Basically, the MIT Library's point person, if you will, for the broader MIT innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. Basically, I guide startups and entrepreneurs in finding information, broadly speaking, but more specifically, it tends to be secondary market research, which we're going to be focusing on today. But also I help them conduct prior art searches for patents. I help them investigate the venture capital landscape using different resources, find data on various topics, anything at all really about finding information that startups and entrepreneurs can use in building their business. That's what I'm here for. I also build the MIT Library's collection in the area of entrepreneurship and innovation. Particularly, evaluating new databases that come on the market and adding them to our collection if they suit the needs of the library and the broader MIT community. I purchased data sets related to entrepreneurship, sometimes on request from entrepreneurs or students and faculty on campus, and also build the MIT Library's collection of electronic journals in the area of innovation and entrepreneurship. But at my most basic level, I help entrepreneurs, startups, students, faculty, and staff find information relating to entrepreneurship, specifically in those areas that I already mentioned: secondary market research, patents, VC information, etc. I meet with entrepreneurs on campus to help them with these things, oftentimes. Sometimes in person, but especially since COVID, we do a lot of our meetings virtually via Zoom. I communicate with them via email, whatever best suits their particular needs. But also just going forward, if you are part of the MIT community, student, faculty, staff, researcher, and you have questions about finding secondary market research or finding information, broadly speaking, for your startup, for your startup project, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. Okay, so we're going to start, since this is the basic subject of our presentation, we're going to start with what is market research. And whenever you talk about market research, at least when I talk about it to entrepreneurs, to startups, and students, I always differentiate primary versus secondary market research, because that's an important distinction. Primary market research is research or information is collected at first hand. In other words, it's interviews, polls, and survey data, or focus group data. Those are sort of broad categories. There are any number of others, but those are some of the most common ones, particularly when it comes to primary market research. Primary market research is generally conducted by the startups and companies themselves. They interview prospective customers, potential customers, people they might work with, people who might buy their product or service. They conduct the interviews, they do the polls, they sort of gather and collate the data. Secondary market research is somewhat different, obviously. It's basically aggregated or information or data which is purchased or acquired typically from publishers, for-profit publishers who specialize in that kind of information. Sometimes governments produce secondary market research, but also nonprofits as well. And whereas primary market research is usually at the individual level, or it's at the level of a handful of individuals, secondary market research tends to be aggregated at broader levels, at the overall product industry or product service level, typically, and it has sort of that information is segmented at different levels, sometimes by region, by product type, by user, etc. Okay. So now a little more information about secondary market research, because that's really the focus of what I do here at the MIT Libraries and at MIT broadly. I help entrepreneurs, startups, students, faculty find market research, but what I'm talking about is secondary market research. I mean, I can help them find primary market research, but typically when I work with them, they're looking for secondary market research because, as I said, they tend to conduct primary market research on their own. But some of the common elements that are included in secondary market research and secondary market research reports, it's usually the form they come in, are overall statistics for the market. Statistics for the market, broadly speaking. What are the overall revenue figures? What is the compound annual growth rate? And in particular importance, how is it projected to grow in the forthcoming years? What is the revenue supposed to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line? It also has some of the leading companies, lists some of the leading companies associated with a particular market, oftentimes with those companies' specific market share listed as well. I already mentioned that it usually contains segmentation data. In other words, it takes the overall market and breaks it down or segments it by region, by product type, by end user, and any number of other categories. It usually includes relevant trends that will affect the market, both trends within the market itself, but then also trends outside the market. It contains financial benchmarks for the overall market and hopefully detailed consumer demographic data. In other words, who are the people who buy this product or service the most by any number of demographic variables. Okay. So the PowerPoint part of this presentation is pretty brief. I just wanted to introduce you to who I am, talk a little bit about market research and what it entails. But most of my presentation is going to be I'm going to be showing you different market research resources, how to find them, using the MIT Library's resources, and what different market research resources are best for. Okay. And they tend to be broken down, and the overall page that I'm going to be showing you is this market research guide that I'll show you in a second. The link is obviously here on this slide. On that page, the market research resources are broken down by category. And then I'm going to show you, demo for you, a handful of market research resources that are typically used for business-to-consumer markets, and then also business-to-business markets. So I'm going to follow that with some additional sources you can use that fall basically outside of what we consider traditional market research resources, both within the library and then outside of it. Okay, so let's see. Let me just stop sharing for a second, and then we'll go back. Share my screen with you here. Okay, does anyone have any questions about anything I've covered so far pertaining to the basics of market research, what I do, etc.?
There's none in the Q&A so far, Nick.
Okay, great. What are we looking at here? This is the MIT Library's homepage, and obviously the title of today's presentation is using the MIT Library's resources for market research. So most of what I'm going to be showing you are resources that you can access through the MIT Library's website. In other words, virtually all the resources I'm going to show you, with the exception of things at the very end, are resources that the MIT Libraries subscribes to. They cost quite a bit of money, and generally most of the resources I'm showing you can be accessed only by MIT current students, faculty, or staff. That's not that's not my choice. The publishers require that as part of our licensing terms. But we pay quite a bit of money for these resources, and if you are going to be doing or want to do market research, these are some of the best resources that I recommend. So this is the library's homepage here, and Set out. So in order to get to the market research guide that I mentioned a few minutes ago, this is the page. You can Google MIT Libraries market research, and that should take you right there. Should be the first or second result. But also going back to the MIT Libraries homepage for a minute, if you sort of scroll down and click on Research Guides and Experts, okay? So again, this is MIT Libraries homepage, libraries.mit.edu. I scrolled down, clicked on Research Guides and Experts, and it takes me to this page. This is a full alphabetical listing of all of our research guides at the MIT Libraries. It's alphabetical. We have them on all sorts of topics, departments, disciplines, and they basically centralize what we consider to be the best resources for different types of research. This is organized alphabetically, as I said, so the market research database, the market research page is listed right here, okay? So this is what the page looks like. This is the homepage you're taken to. The very top, it breaks the resources down by subject or category. We subscribe to a fairly large number of market research databases, and it's not necessarily clear to people which ones they should start with. So we've broken them down by different categories: banking and payments, consumer products and services, technology and internet, etc. I'm going to start with resources that I'd recommend using for secondary market research in the area of consumer products and services. Okay, I mentioned that at the end of my slideshow. I talked about business to consumer products and services. So those are products and services that are generally sold from a business, from a company, from a startup, direct to consumer. Things that ordinary consumers tend to buy in stores, whether brick and mortar or online. That's what we're going to start with. So I'm going to show you a couple different ones here. There are a number of different market research databases that are listed here under the consumer products and services category. They have brief descriptions if you're not sure which one to use, but I'm going to talk about a couple of them, starting with Technavia reports. Okay, so log me in, just take a second. So Technavia reports is one of the, I would say overall, one of the best market research databases that we subscribe to. It's great for, as I said, consumer products and services. But the other really cool thing about Technavia reports is it has reports on consumer products and services, but not just the sort of standard consumer products and services like clothing or groceries or computers. It has market research reports on all sorts of very specialized, oftentimes technology-related consumer products and services. That's why it's called Technavia. And that's particularly useful for startups and entrepreneurs at MIT, whose startup and entrepreneurship activity tends to involve some kind of technology component, not surprisingly, as they're from MIT. So Technavia is a really great resource to use. So, it's pretty easy to find what you're looking for. You can browse by different broad industries over here on the right under this industries drop down. But typically, it's probably best because you're usually looking for a market research report on a specific product or service. So you can very easily just do a keyword search here. So wearables, for example. Okay. All right. So the great thing about Technavia reports, as compared with some other market research databases, the reports it publishes tend to get very specific. In other words, they're on specific types of products and services, not just wearables. I mean, there is one here, so you'll see U.S. wearables market by distribution channel product. But then if you look at some of the other results, they're very specific. You have global wearable medical devices market, smart wearable fitness and sports devices and services, wearable robots and exoskeletons market. So it's not just very broad, top level market research. It's market research reports on very specific products and services. So I'll just jump into one of them to show you the kind of information that is included and how these reports are organized. Takes a second to load. All right. So as you can see here, this page is almost 160 pages long. They're extensive, very detailed. These aren't just sort of quick one-offs with a few paragraphs. These are very detailed reports. You can download the PDF over here on the left. But let me just show you the table of contents. So this is the overall wearables market in the United States. Each of these reports has a date. So this is a brand new report, 2024 through 2028. I mentioned when I was going through common elements of market research projection. That's very, very important. People want to have a sense of where the market will be in the next few years. So this report has projections going forward to 2028. So that's very important for startups here at MIT. So this is the table of contents, and this, a lot of the reports that I'm going to show you have a sort of table of contents that's similar to this. We have an executive summary, okay. We have a general sort of market landscape breakdown, overall information on the market size, and here under 3.4 market outlook forecast for 2023 to 2028. That's just what I was talking about a second ago in terms of projections. We have historic information, where the market was like, how the market has been over the last 5 years. We have what's called the 5 forces analysis. That's typical in business information. And then we have very important market segmentation. Here we have by distribution channel, okay, by products, by different product type, okay, by application, okay. And then we have information on customers. I mentioned that before, consumers, vendors, trends. And then we have detailed information on specific companies within the wearables market. Okay.
Nick, I'm going to pause right here. We have a question.
Sure.
And the question is, do you have any advice on the best way to narrow search terms? Example, determining the best keywords, etc.
Sure. I would say the market research databases in these, that I'm talking about or that I'm showing you today, they have a wealth of information in there, but they don't have hundreds of thousands of reports. So if I'm showing students how to find articles for their thesis, for their literature review, building a keyword search or a specific keyword search tends to be much more important. I would say, when you're using Technavio or the other databases I'm going to show you today, it shouldn't require that much, time or effort in terms of thinking of keywords. So, I would just think of like maybe, 2 or 3 synonyms or other common terms for that specific device, product, or service. Wearables is a sort of known term, if you will, in the market. So that's the one I used. But, if you're not just looking for wearables generally and you wanted a specific type of wearable, you could do, wearable, medical. Let's just try that here, as opposed to just wearables in general. So here we have, okay, so here, just by putting in that term medical as opposed to just wearable itself, we came up with a number of different wearables that are related to specific conditions or specific parts of the human body. So we have, let's see here, optical pulse sensors. So I would say, start with the broad term, and then see what comes up. And if you're not finding what you're looking for, or if you're searching for something more specific, put in an additional subject term that narrows it down by industry or by type of product. Any other questions?
None as of right now. Thank you, Nick.
Yep. Okay, so that is Technavy Reports. It's a very easy database to use. Some of our other business databases outside of the market research area tend to be or can be more complicated in terms of finding information you're looking for. But thankfully, most of the market research databases that I'm showing you today are pretty easy to use. It's not, as I said, there's not, hundreds of thousands of reports in here. It's not, hundreds of thousands of data sets. It's a wealth of information in here, but you can find what you're looking for pretty quickly. So that is Technavy Reports. I'm going to go back to our market research page. Okay, so we're in the consumer products and services category. I showed you Technavy a second ago. One I'll mention is Mintel or Mintel Reports. If you are really interested in, one second. If you're really interested in consumer information, kind of customer demographic information about who buys a particular product and service and why, Mintel is a really good market research database to use. That's what its focus really is, consumer demographic data. It doesn't get into, it's definitely focused on as consumer products and services, who buys clothes, who buys particular types of coffee, who is really interested in buying green products, that kind of thing. I wouldn't look, and its focus is on who buys particular products and why. It's not a great resource for like, okay, what are the overall numbers? What's the overall revenue for this specific product or service? How is it going to grow? Who are the biggest companies? Well, they will have some company information in here, but it's not really a resource that I would use for like a really large scale, broad base report on a product or service. It's really focused on who buys particular products and why. So for example, in all the databases I'm going to show you, you can always browse. You can filter by category, by region, what they call trend drivers. These are identities, technology, etc., demographics. So if you can limit your search that way, or you can filter your search that way, or you can just do a keyword search like I did before in Technavy Reports. So for example, let's do like let's see, all right. So let me just jump into something here. So you have it lists upcoming reports. Then it sort of spits out a number of results at you. You can filter your results by type. So for example, if you only wanted, because some of this will be news, some of this will be broad industry trends. If you only wanted reports, for example, which is what I tend to mean when I'm talking about market research as market research reports, you can limit by that type of resource, and let's see what we get. Okay, so I did green products. So here it lists a number of those products. So for example, there are different categories here. We have dishwashing products, home laundry products. Again, these are all consumer products and services. These are not sort of high-tech products and services that are sold from one business to another. That's what I'm going to talk about shortly. These are consumer products and services. So let's just go into one of them here. We have lawn and garden products. This takes a second. Okay, so here we have, as I said, most of these reports have a date. And for this one, it says Lawn and Garden Products US 2023. So Mintel will also have reports on the market in the UK, the US. There might be a couple other countries, but it'll tell you each report has a country and a date listed. So this is Lawn and Garden Products in the United States from last year. We have, and it's broken down into these different sections here. We have an overview. We have information on the broad market. It does have some market size and forecast information, not a ton, but some. But it has far more consumer information. Okay, participation, enjoyment, skill, use by professionals, behaviors. In other words, who buys a product, why, how they use it, and what are their attitudes and feelings towards specific products and services. And then we have information on brands and companies. Who are the important brands or companies within this particular market? But so I'll show you just quickly. I'll jump into one of these consumer categories here. Lawn and garden behaviors. All right, so it's not just data. There's detailed sort of text that talks about why people buy products and services and how they use them, what their attitudes are, as I said. Then there is, survey data here. Okay, which of the following are true for you? So as I said, great resource for consumer information, who buys products and why. This is, this breaks down gardening by income, etc. Okay. All right. You can back here. 1 second. You can download different parts of the report, the executive summary, infographic overview, the full report as a PDF. You can download it as a PowerPoint presentation, and you can also download, if you just wanted the data, from all the tables, for example, you could download that into Excel. Other helpful things, it lists related reports that you might want to look at over here on the right. So we're looking at the report from for 2023. We have the same report from 2022, and then going back 2018 and 2016. So if you're, keep in mind, always be aware of the date. And they do have Mintel does have older reports in here as well. So just be aware of that. Okay. And then finally, going back to the market research guide, I'm going to talk about one other of the consumer products and services databases, and that is what's called Passport GMID, or Global Market Information Database. So the really helpful thing about Passport GMID, or Passport, let's see here. Let me try that one. Yeah. 1 second, it's loading. Sometimes this one takes a few. Here we go. Okay, so you just have to accept the terms. So as I said, Passport is a really great consumer products and services database, especially if you're interested in the market for consumer products and services outside of the United States. Is there a specific country in South America, Latin America, Europe, or Asia that you are interested in? What is the market for a consumer product or service in that particular country, as opposed to just the United States, or a report that is global in focus? You really wanted to look at a report about a consumer product and service in Brazil, for example. Passport is a really good database to use. It focuses on, as it says, 210 countries and 27 industries, including market sizes, data, forecasts, consumer information, etc. So you can use this database in the same way that I've already shown you in other databases. You can browse by industry, okay, by channel, okay. Right. You can also, what I tend to do is keyword search, and I'll show you that. So let's do Brazil. All right, so I just started doing like Brazil clothing. Jeans. Okay, jeans in Brazil. It's the great thing about this. So let's do is it has reports on broader categories of products and services, but also more narrow products and services, like in this case, jeans. So we'll do here, jeans in Brazil. Again, this report has a date as well. In this case, it's from just a week or so ago, January 10th. There's a lot of data in these passport reports, so it takes a second to load. Okay, but again, this is a specific report. This is a report on a specific industry in a country outside the United States, Brazil in this case, has a date of this month. So they're updated regularly. They're not, they're not a lot of scale reports in passport. So we have sort of key data findings at the top. What are the overall revenue figures? How is it expected to grow? Okay, we have that on the market size information. All these things I talked about at the beginning in the common elements of market research. We have some developments from last year. All right, some sort of branding information here. We have sales. We have segmentation information. In other words, sales of jeans in different categories. Competitive information. Okay, here we have, and then we have, top companies, and then I mentioned market share at the beginning. So here we have the companies are listed by market share. So this company here has 77.1% market share. It's listed at the very top, etc. So just the information on the landing page. There's a lot of information here. But then as you can see, there are different tabs. You can do data graphics. Okay, if you just wanted the data tables, you go directly to them here. You have context or contextual information. All right. This sort of takes a broader look at that market. You can download the whole report as a PDF, and then also recommends some related reports. So let's look at some of these related reports here. So I searched under jeans, or I originally tried to search under clothing, but here we have these are all reports on these industries in Brazil. We have apparel and footwear, children's wear, something specifically on footwear, et cetera, et cetera. Menswear, women's wear. So there, if you were looking for, the important point to keep in mind is if you were looking for detailed market research on a consumer product in a country outside of the United States, and you wanted a report on that, just on that particular product and service category in that specific country, Passport is the way to go. Okay. All right. Any questions before I move to business categories? Doesn't seem like there are any questions.
There are no questions at this time.
Okay, great. All right. So thus far, I've been talking about, as I said, what we call business to consumer products, or B2C products, products and services that are sold, from a business, a startup, to a consumer. If they want to think about it, a product that you could buy, on Amazon, at CVS, in the old days at the mall, if I want to date myself. But in other words, products that are sold to everyday consumers. The other broad category I'm going to talk about is what's known as B2B, or business to business. These tend to be, these are products that are sold from one business to another business. And they tend to be, I would say more technology related, have more of a technical component than some consumer products and services. They can often be more expensive. generally speaking, but they're sold from one business to another. A lot of the entrepreneurship activity at MIT, because of the high technology component of some of these products and services, tend to be products and services that are sold from one business to another. That's their ideal market. That's their ideal customer. Okay. So again, this is the market research guide that we're looking at, the market research page. And as I said, it breaks the reports down into these different categories. There's not a specific business to business category. It tends to be more, they're more subject ones, but the ones, if you're really interested in business to business products, just look at the category I would look at is this healthcare, pharma, biotech, industrials category, or the technology internet, or there's also an energy one as well. Those are the closest categories to what is typically called business or B2B. So let's do technology internet. Okay. And I'll start with one database called BCC Research. BCC, as you can see here, provides B2B market research reports. BCC Research, just broadly speaking, is one of the databases I use the most for market research here at MIT. Because so many of the products and services that are developed here at MIT are technology related and are sold from one business to another, that is the type of market research that BCC Research specializes in. Thus, I use it very, very often. Again, similar pattern here. You can browse the database by category, or you can do keyword searching. As I said in answer to that first question, almost all of these market research databases are pretty easy to find what you're looking for if it's within the database. It's a handful of keyword searches should suffice to find a report you're looking for if it's published by the database you're looking at. So for example, if I were to do like biotechnology, it's a very broad one, but let's see here. Keep in mind, just like Intel reports, BCC Research does have older reports in here. So all the reports will have a date. So here we have different types of biotechnology, agricultural biotechnology, emerging technologies and global markets. We have a date just from a few months ago, November 2023. But again, this is, as I said, keyword searching is usually pretty quick to find what you're looking for in BCC Research, just like the other databases. So let's just look in one here, CRISPR technology, global markets, just to show you how these reports are organized. Yeah, so CRISPR technology, so as far as I understand, CRISPR technology is gene editing technology of one kind or another. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that is that kind of technology is not sold to individual consumers generally. It's sold from one business to another, and they may in turn sell it to a consumer. But in general, it's sold from one business to another. So these BCC research reports are organized very, very in a very, very similar fashion. We have sort of highlights on the landing page, overall market figures, the overall the compound annual growth rate I mentioned in my slideshow, that's listed here. We have breakdown by end user, and then over here on the left, we have the table of contents. So this is, these reports are very detailed. This has 10 chapters. So we have the market overview section. All right. We have how the information on how the industry is structured. Here we have a very specific piece of trend information, impact of COVID-19 on CRISPR technology. We have the competitive landscape. Okay. We have, let's see here, 3 different types of segmentation. I mentioned that before. We have CRISPR technology segmented by end user. Below that, we have by application, and then finally by region. So if you click on any of these plus signs, it'll break that chapter out. So then we have detailed information on North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, and the rest of the world. And then finally, we have a section down here at the bottom on company profiles. So these are the leading companies in the CRISPR technology market. And so it has, if you click on one of them, it should have sort of basic information on that company, you know, where the company is located, what are the products and services they develop and specialize in, some information on financials, okay, and then some revenue data as well. Okay, you can download the whole report as a PDF. Up here on the top right, you could download all the data into an Excel file. You could download it as a PDF. You can also go to the list of tables section, and then this lists all the data tables in this report. So you could download all of them if you wanted by selecting all tables, or you could sort of browse this list of tables and select the specific tables you were interested in, just to make the files, you know, easier to manage and not sort of crowd out or sort of crowd your information with data you don't need. Okay. And let's see here. So that is BCC Research. As I said, it's one of the best reports it's one of the best resources I use for business to business market research, you know, especially business to business products and services that are highly technology dependent. Okay. So we'll go back to our research guide here, and I'll talk briefly about a couple other ones. And specifically, one is called Forrester Research and then Gartner Group reports. These are really great resources if you're looking for market research in the area of IT products and services. Computer technology, AI, you know, anything related to sort of computers, information technology, AI. Forrester is a really great database to use for market research. I would say that it's not the it has really good reports that talk about trend data, what is happening in industry and why and how it's going to affect the industry going forward in the next year, in the next 3 years, the next 5 years. And I would say it's definitely written for people within the industry. Sometimes the reports are on specific, written for specific, positions within industry, a CEO, a CFO, a CMO. But they're definitely written for, they have a wealth of information on sort of trends. What is happening in industry and why and how it's going to affect the people who work in that industry. So that is Forrester. I will go back to the research guide for a second here and talk about one other one that's fairly similar. Oh, here it is. Let me just do it one more time. You have to, let's see here, talk about one more briefly here. So going back, it tells you here, you have to click on login and enter your MIT email to access the database. So you click login. Okay. Enter your email, and looks like you would have had to set up a password first, but that's how you would actually access the reports themselves. Okay. So that is Forrester. Talk about one other one in this area called Gartner Group Reports. Gartner Group Reports is broadly similar to Forrester. It specializes in IT-related products and services. So this description gives a little more information. Great resource for business-to-business research and analysis impacted by IT in these specific areas: financial services, healthcare, government, higher education, and small and medium-sized businesses. So if you want information on IT and how it impacts those broader industries, Gartner is a great resource to use. So for example, you could do, let's just do, right? So I was going to look for reports on AI or artificial intelligence. I just started typing and it automatically starts to recommend reports to look at. So for example, if you wanted artificial intelligence in healthcare. Let's see what comes up here. Okay. All right. Gartner publishes things that are called hype cycles. That's, a sort of a detailed report or description of, sort of where an industry or product or service, where it currently lies in what they call its hype. Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Is it hip? Is it on the way out? What have you? So, for example, let's see here. All right, so let's look at some of these other reports. As I said, what should I know about analytics and business intelligence platforms? These reports address specific questions, often written for people within an industry, not for, I would say, the general consumer, right? Healthcare providers, emerging technology priorities, and progress by use case. So some of these reports aren't necessarily all about AI in healthcare, but they will address that topic within this broader report, okay? So that is Gartner Group reports. But in general, I would say if you are looking for trend information about IT-related products and services, how different trends and so forth are going to affect those industries, not necessarily overall data on that industry, but trend information. In the IT product and service category, Gartner Group reports and Forrester Research are great ones. Okay. One other, okay, so those are business to business databases. I'm going to talk briefly about a couple databases that you can use, that aren't necessarily market research databases, but oftentimes publish really good information that is of use for market research purposes. One of them is called Statista, and it is listed here on this page under the consumer products and services category. It's at the bottom. Oh, here it is. I'll just go into Statista briefly. Statista is not a market research database. It is a database of just a general database for statistics on all sorts of topics. So sometimes if I can't find a full report, sometimes a product or service is quite new, is quite innovative, and there's not necessarily a whole report that's been published about it. So, but that doesn't mean you can't find any data that is relevant to market research purposes. So sometimes I'll go into Statista and see what has been published, see what kind of data or statistics they have on a particular product. So let's just stick with our original one, even though we did find, okay, so wearable. All right, so these are all like statistics. So there is a general wearable statistics and facts sheet. There's one specifically on wearables in the United States. So let me see here. So this is like a broader report that is made up of a bunch of other it's made up of a bunch of statistical tables, which are listed here. Overview, segments, companies, consumption, special focus, XR devices. So for example, let me jump into one of these tables. These are all tables. These are not like reports. So let's see here. Okay, revenue of the smartwatches industry worldwide, 2019 through 2028. So this is a projection of the smartwatches market from 2019 going up to 2028. Okay. The other thing that's helpful is there's some like text here that you could check out, but these are largely tables. But the helpful thing is that each of these reports, obviously you can download them as PDFs, as an Excel file, but each of the tables will list the source of where they got their data. So Statista doesn't tend to publish this stuff. It tends to sort of collate or pull the data from any number of statistical sources worldwide. But this report, if you click on it, source link, it'll take you to that specific report. And this is one that's published within Statista, but sometimes, let's go to one of these. Let's go back to our results here. Let's see here. Let's see. All right. So this is wearable device usage in selected countries as of September of last year. And as I said, each table within Statista will publish or list and link where it got this data. So there's something called the Consumer Insights Global Survey. And if we click on that, it should take us directly there. So as I said, Statista is a very good source of statistical data, broadly speaking, but sometimes if I'm not able to find a full market research report in another database, I'll check out Statista to see if they have some statistical tables that could be of use to me. All right, that's Statista. Let me go to the top here. I'm going to talk about two other databases quickly. So this page that I've been on, that has been the basis of our presentation, this is the market research guide. And as you can see, the tab is highlighted in blue. It's one tab of a larger page called Business Databases by Category. And two other databases that I'll mention here are actually under the Industries tab. Okay. But they published industry reports. The two ones I'm going to talk about are IBIS World and Fitch Connect. So let me start with IBIS World. IBIS World, it's called an industry database, but I would say there's a lot of crossover in the information that's published, the type of information that's published in IBIS World and the type of information that's published in a typical market research report, even though this is listed as an industry source. But it operates very similarly to BCC Research and Technavia reports, for example. So you could just do, let's see here, hospitals. Okay. All right. So we have a broad report on hospitals in the US. We have we have a report on specialty hospitals in the United States, psychiatric hospitals, children's specialty hospitals, etc. They have information. IBIS World publishes reports on the American market, the Chinese market, and the global market. But just for example, if we click on the hospitals in the United States report, the good thing about IBIS World is it publishes really good reports on both business to consumer or B2C products and services and business to business or business or B2B products and services. So this is a typical report in IBIS World. Here it is on hospitals in the United States. Has a date. It's published November of last year. We have key takeaways at the top, and then it's organized around these different around this table of contents over here on the left. Products and services. That's where we have segmentation information there. We have a major companies section. Okay, with some market share available. We have external environment. What are the external trends affecting this market? We have financial benchmarks for the industry. And then we have key statistics. Okay, so this is like, okay, what are the key statistics? Great thing about reports in IBIS World is they tend to have data going back to 2005. So we have revenue, we have number of establishments, number of enterprises, overall employment, wages, going back to 2005, and then projections going forward at least 5 years. Okay, so that is IBIS World. One other report I'll mention here, one other database I'll mention here is called Fitch Connect. It was used to be called BMI Research. It's fairly limited in terms of the number of industries that it looks at, but it does have reports on these 24 industries for markets all over the world, for countries all over the world. And they tend to be, I would say, like, I use the term like infrastructure related industries, like, telecommunications, power, energy, that kind of thing. So for example, if you did like, this out of the way, you could do like so here we have the confusing thing or the troublesome thing about Pitch Connect is it doesn't just publish market research. It publishes all sorts of information. In this case, that's company information. So it's sometimes more challenging to find the information in Pitch Connect by a keyword search I found. So what I tend to do is I go back here, and then you can browse. So this is one of the few databases that I've shown you today where, for me, it's helpful to browse as opposed to keyword searching. So you can do industries, and it shows the sort of type of industries it has. There's overall food and drink reports, healthcare, insurance, information technology, okay, petrochemicals, real estate. So these are sort of really broad based, what I consider kind of infrastructure or infrastructure related industries. So you could do, let's do real estate. All right, and then you can limit by, let's do like country. All right, or so you can limit by country, and then you can just do, here we go. So Brazil real estate report. Again, these are very detailed. They tend to be, as I said, I apologize for the ambulance going by. These tend to be what I would say sort of broad-based infrastructure-related industries on countries all over the world. So if that is your focus, Pitch Connect is a really good resource to use. Okay. One other type of source I'll mention here is not a market research, typically it's not a market research report or market research resource, but it can be helpful in finding relevant information for market research purposes, particularly if you can't find an actual market research report on your product or service. And that is looking for social science data, or looking for data broadly speaking, but we have a guide specifically for social science data. This is listed from the PowerPoint, but from here, for example, you can hover over this find data link, and then what is the sort of broad category that would affect your product or service? So for example, if you were if you were talking about healthcare, right? So these will list really good data sources for healthcare or health related data. So there's the OECD health statistics, PubMed. Okay, this is one here. So U.S. Center for Disease Control, National Center for Health Statistics. So, for example, if you couldn't find a whole market research report on your medical or medicine related product or service, you might want to know another way to go is, okay, how many people in the United States have this particular disease or condition? Okay, who has it? What type of people have it? By income, by age, by gender. So you might want to see, okay, who has that disease or condition? In this case, the CDC is the sort of center for data on those particular products, and those particular variables. Who has a particular disease, and sometimes why as well. So I'm just showing this. I wanted to show you this social science data guide as an alternate source to look in, as outside of traditional market research databases, to find data that can be relevant for market research purposes. In other words,
Nick,
yeah.
I'm just going to pause really quick because there's a question in the chat.
Sure.
Is there any tool that I can use to export a respondent database for a primary research survey?
You mean you're looking for survey data specifically?
Rodrigo is the one who answered it. If you can just type in the Q&A the clarifying, please.
Here it is. Export respondent database. If that's what I think, I have an idea what we're talking about, so I'm just gonna.
And can you ask what clarity you're looking for again, Nick? Oh, he just put it in the chat. He said B2B potential adopters to my sales platform.
I would do, let's go back. I'm not sure about that specific one here. Let me just take a look here. So let's see. One second. Here we go. So if you're looking for primary market, if I understand your question, what are sources for primary market research on this specific product, which is, let's see, potential adopters to my sales platform. So you're looking for, Rodrigo, you're looking for primary market research on that particular product, in this case, a sales platform. Is that right?
Oh yeah, use it.
Okay. So for primary market research, I mean, you could on a specific sales platform, or just like a,
Yeah, it's like AI to apply to CRMs.
Okay.
And I'm already running this business in the US, and I'm trying to figure out how big is the Latin American market. So I'm planning to apply some survey to understand
Okay.
the potential to adopt there.
Okay, so I mean, are you looking for like existing primary market research about who uses this, who are potential users for this, or are you looking for like, is that what you're looking for? Or are you looking for, things that you can use to conduct the surveys yourself?
Actually, both. So one of them is the survey, but I'm also doing the secondary market research.
Yeah, I would say for survey data, like here, going back to the social science data category, there's under find data, there's one for public opinion, and this lists some different, let's see here. So like we have sources for like primary market research or like public, but it tends to fall in like public, what we consider public opinion, like polls about particular topics, maybe about particular products or services. But I would say, going back to our research guide that I showed you, and going back to the market research page, I would say Mintel would be a good one to look in. It's not going to get, like, you're not going to get the individual responses of actual polls, but you will have broad-based summaries of like who uses a particular product and service and why. So I would say Mintel reports would be the one I would recommend. It does tend to focus on consumer products and services, but you could still you might be able to find some good information about who uses particular sales platforms or why. Okay. So that is basically the end of my presentation in terms of what I was going to sort of talk about and show you. Does anyone have questions for me? Something I covered that was unclear, something I didn't cover that you'd be interested in? And you can, let's see here. You can either put the question in the chat. I'm sorry, you can either put the question in the Q&A, or we're a relatively small group, so you can also just ask me a question. You can turn your speaker on and unmute yourself and ask me the question, whichever you prefer.
I actually have a question, Nick.
Yep.
What would you say is the most underutilized database for market research across MIT?
Underutilized. I would say, I mean, maybe underutilized this one here. This is also, let's see, going back to the research guide here, this is under the consumer products and services. This is called EMIS Professional. If you're looking for market research on the developing world, products and services within the developing world, what's considered the developing world. So obviously outside of the United States, outside of Western Europe, this is a really good resource to use. They have a wealth of reports here on products and services, who buys them, how the markets are growing in developing countries around the world. So if that is what you're interested in, or if that's the market you're looking to enter or penetrate, I would say EMIS Professional would be a really good way to go. I wouldn't say it's totally underutilized, but it tends not to get the attention that it should.
All right, and I actually have one other question.
Sure.
Well, out of all these databases, which one have you found is not as user-friendly or people tend to run into trouble with?
Let me just take a quick peek here. I would say the one I showed you earlier was the BMI, that one at the top here under industries, Fitch Connect. I don't know if it's really it's not that challenging, but as you saw when I demoed it, like it's not like, let's go. Why that's working. Hold on 1 second. For some reason, there's some kind of error going on just at the moment. But I would say Fitch Connect simply because as you could see when I demoed it, I just did a search. What was the search I did? Energy maybe in Brazil, and it like immediately sort of spit up a large number of results. And it's easier for me to find what I'm looking for in Fitch Connect by browsing, or by sort of narrowing, by sort of choosing your industry category and then choosing your region. Simply because Fitch Connect, it doesn't just publish what I consider market research reports, or sort of market research adjacent, if you will. It has all sorts of information in there, that's listed in this description here. Profiles on over 500 multinational companies and their subsidiaries. There's all sorts of information in there that has nothing to do with market research, or is not really market research. So it tends to be more challenging to find the report you're looking for. Not super challenging, but it's harder. It requires more filtering for me, even as well, to find what I'm looking for, as opposed to, BCC Research or Technavio. All I did was a quick keyword search, and I could usually find the report very, very quickly.
Amazing. And then I did get a question sent to me saying that if we're trying to research a business or a market space, where can people find you? Can they reach out to you? What's the best way to kind of get in contact?
Great. Perfect. If you're looking to contact me, if you want to set up a meeting with me, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can go, this is the library homepage again. If you hover over About and click Contact Us, and then Staff by Name. Again, my name is Nicholas Albaugh. I'm listed right here. This has my email. You can always communicate that way if you have a quick question. Send me an email. My office is in the Dewey Library in Kendall Square. I'm there basically 2 days a week, 9 to 5. So you can always stop by if you want. But I would say, email is a really good way to get in touch with me, but also going back to our homepage here. If you want to schedule, if you want to directly schedule a research consultation, or what I call a research consultation with me, that is meeting with me either in person or via Zoom. You can email me and we can schedule it that way. But also, if going back to the library's homepage here at the top, if you hover over research support and then research support home, okay. And then from here, if you click on make an appointment, here you select location. So do you want to meet in person or virtually? So, you know, if you want to meet virtually via Zoom, you could select that. And then you could select the staff member. So, you know, to find me, I'm in both the social sciences and the management and business category. So you could just click on management and business, select my name. So again, I selected virtual. So this tells me for the month of January, I'm available for virtual meetings. I'm really available for virtual meetings, you know, Monday through Friday, but these are the days that I'm not going to be on campus. So I'm available for a virtual meeting this week, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, next week, etc. So for example, if you wanted to meet with me virtually on Wednesday, the 24th, click on that date, you select a time, and then you just schedule it that way. So you can either contact me directly via email, I would say, or you can schedule a research consultation with me through our research support link.